Today I'm going to be working on the nano rack behind me. In fact, I'm only going to be working on the tanks on the bottom shelf. My first job is going to be removing all this limnophylla and floating plants of the baby Betta albimarginata tank. I'm going to then be able to count how many fry I've got, because I don't think I've got too many, and then they're going to get moved to a new tank. The reason for this will all become clear in time, but let's first count the fish and get them moved. Now all the plants have been cleared, it's time to remove the hardscape and any large pieces of botanicals so the fish don't have anywhere to hide from catching. With this being a botanical method aquarium, there is a lot of inert detritus in here at the same time, and this does mean it's quite difficult to see into the aquarium. So I'm just going to reduce the water levels a little bit so I can see what I'm doing, keeping the siphon very close to the glass so I can make sure I don't accidentally siphon up one of the babies. Now it's time to catch the baby bettas out, and I'm going to use this little plastic sort of tub or cup rather than a net, just because I think it's slightly less stressful on the fish, keeping them in water during the transition. I'm just going to slowly work my way through to catch out any that I can see. So there we go, I think I have caught all of the bettas out, and I ended up with 6 of them in total, of various sizes. So I think I've got a couple to survive from each batch that I had. It's not a great result, but it's 6, and that's my first go at breeding bettas, so I'm quite happy with that. The male and female continuously are spawning, and I just haven't had space to separate them out again when the male's holding to get further clutches, but I definitely think it works, and now I can refine my methods and get a better success rate going forward. So these are now going to go into the tank on the my far left, your far right, which currently is home to my Borneo half-beak babies. And now there are 4 of those in there as well. And they are a reasonable size, and they're not going to be sort of the right size for the bettas to eat, I don't think. And it means I can really push all of my vinegar eels into one tank, have really high density of prey items, so all of the fish should grow really well. They're definitely not going to breed, they're way too young. But yeah, I'm going to have it as like a concentrated nursery soup where I can dedicate all my time and attention on feeding them really well, doing loads of water changes to make sure the water conditions are optimum, and yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Now it's time to acclimatise them to the half-beak tank, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to finish emptying out their old tank, and I'm going to spin it round so that I have more space on my rack. So it's now time to move this tank. I'm just going to take off the light for a moment. So the foam matting is now down to support the tank. I've changed it over for a lower piece, and then I'm just going to pop the tank on it. Like so. Now this tank isn't ideal, as you can see. It is slightly wider. This is actually a 50 centimetre tank, and the shelf is 45 centimetres front to back. So there is a very slight overhang. Because of that, I've never ran this tank full anyway, but I am going to only run it half full, so there's less weight on it. But being on the foam, supporting most of the weight, it should be absolutely fine for a few months, which is all I needed to do. It's not a permanent solution, but it will do for now. But with that in mind, let's get the light back installed so we can see what we're doing. So this tank is going to actually be home to some new arrivals to the fish room. I have another batch of baby L126 Hypancistrus plecos, and they're just about to be at the right size to emerge from their cave. And I'm going to move them across into this tank so I can concentrate on them. Because the last time I had some, I had quite good success rate until the tank smashed. And I think I can get a really good clutch of these babies to grow in here. And obviously I have lots of larger tanks. So raising these half beaks, the Betta albimarginata, and then the plex in these narrow tanks will only work for a short period of time before they then go up into one of the larger tanks to grow out. And luckily I have a few spare that will work perfectly for them. But putting them straight into those big tanks means the food is too spread out and they don't find it as well and they won't grow so quickly. So I am going to do it how they do it in sort of aquaculture and step them up in size as they grow. So I'm going to fill this tank using water from the current pleco tank to make sure that there is no transition for the babies at all. We can get the filter and heater back in and then we'll move the fish over in a day or two. There's still a fair amount of detritus in amongst the sand bed, and that's all getting disturbed as I fill it up. But that's all going to provide small bits of food and maturity to the tank for the baby plecos, so I'm not going to be too worried about that, and it will clear over time as it settles out. So the bettas have now been acclimatized, and it's time to release them into the tank. As you can see, if I bring the camera back, the tank they're going into is very much obscured, so it's going to be difficult to film. So I'm just going to pop the camera here and hope you can kind of see what's going on. Now it is quite difficult to see into this tank, but you can just about see some of the bettas investigating their new home. In fact, this one swam straight past one of the half beaks, not really noticing, and actually the half beaks are longer than the bettas, or some of the bettas at least, so I don't think there's going to be any issues with them sort of predating on one another, and they should cohabit quite nicely while they grow up. Before I leave the fish room for the night, I'm just going to give them some vinegar eels, and if you're interested in how to culture vinegar eels, you can watch my most recent video all about culturing and harvesting vinegar eels. It's been a few days and the tank for the baby plecos has now cleared nicely, and because I filled this up with water from the existing tank and with a mature filter, the fish can go straight across today. And you'll also see that there is a new box on the shelf where this tank used to be. This is for a new project. It is a new fluval Betta tank and I'll be setting it up very soon, but this will not be on my channel, so you'll have to subscribe to the Practical Fish Keeping YouTube channel to be able to watch this tank build. So head over there, subscribe now, and wait for it, because it's gonna be great. Anyway, let's carry on. Let's get these fish moved over and see how many pleco babies are hidden in this cave. I was half expecting them to come out of the cave when I put it into this tank, but they haven't, so they're clearly not quite ready. So I'm just going to pop in a few more caves for when they are ready, and I'll leave them in that cave with the parent until they're ready to come out. And as soon as these guys come out, I will make sure I get some footage and share it with you at the end of this video, so we know how many we're starting with. Hopefully I can give you lots of updates going forwards on how these guys are going to grow, and how the Betta and half-beaks are going to grow as well. They're already doing really well in there and feeding together, and I've seen no issues with them sharing a tank, so that is a good news and a good step. Remember to subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on any of those updates, and remember to subscribe to Practical Fish Keeping YouTube channel for this new tank, and you may have noticed there is space for another tank at the top of this rack as well. So lots to come, and a few other changes are going to happen too. So yeah, exciting times, got lots to fit in, and not much time to do it, but it's going to be fun. So it has been a couple of days now, and the baby plecs are now coming out of their cave, and I've managed to move the parent back into the tank with the other adults, so that these guys have this tank all to themselves. They are coming out occasionally when I surprise them with the light, but they soon retreat back to their ceramic caves when they realise it's gone to daytime. They're out and about looking for food though, and they all have nice full bellies. I have done a rough head count, and I think I've got about 15 fry, which is really good. They're really adorable, and I love seeing them scattered all over the tank when I turn the lights on. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them grow up. I'll of course keep you updated with updates as they grow up, so make sure you're subscribed here and follow me on other channels just to make sure you don't miss the updates.